So if you were looking for a place to buy a home in the Dallas, Texas Metroplex, and you're looking for something that's affordable, but you still want new construction, you still want easy access to all the amenities that the Metroplex has, like the dining, shopping, entertainment, you may want to consider Oak Point, Texas. Now, Oak Point is a very low-key suburb, and often it gets overlooked. And to be honest, it's not the perfect place to live. It's not for everybody, but it could possibly be a good fit for you depending on what your priorities are. And so in today's video, I'm gonna give you a look at Oak Point, Texas. We're gonna really dive deep, give you everything you need to know, talk about the pros and cons, and ultimately help you decide if Oak Point could be a possible place for you to buy a home here in the Dallas, Texas area. Hey, my name is Michael Carraway. I'm a real estate agent here in the Dallas area, and let's get to it. So listen, the number one thing that's gonna jump out to people about Oak Point, Texas right from the get-go is gonna be its affordability. You can just buy a home for way cheaper there compared to a lot of the neighboring suburbs around there, like Frisco, for example. So you have a lot more room in your budget to be able to afford a bigger house, a nicer house, a newer house, and an even better community than you would in a place like Frisco. You're just gonna find more affordable homes. So the median sales price in Oak Point, Texas is right around $500,000. So a really reasonable median sales price. You can get homes cheaper, you can get homes that are much more expensive. But the thing is that $500,000 compared to other places in the DFW Metroplex is a pretty good deal. You know, just down the road in Prosper, Texas, for example, the median sales price there is $900,000. So you are getting a much lower median sales price in Oak Point than you can in a lot of other surrounding suburbs. So you're probably asking yourself, like, why is the median sales price so much lower in Oak Point compared to a place like Prosper or Frisco? And we're gonna cover several points here that probably lead to why that is. But again, don't let those points necessarily discourage you. You have to look at it from your specific lens and what's good for you and your family, because not everybody's priorities are the same, and that's a good thing. Everybody has a thing that they're looking for. So stick around. We're gonna talk about some of those cons here later in the video. But while we're on the topic of real estate prices, I wanna jump into the next pro about this area, and that is you have some really good new construction neighborhoods in this area. Now, in Oak Point specifically, one of the best neighborhoods that you're gonna find is Wild Ridge. And Wild Ridge is this fantastic, one of my favorite communities in the entire DFW Metroplex, because they've really leaned into this theme of outside and outdoors and adventure and nature, which just speaks to my heart, having lived in Colorado and growing up in Iowa and spending all my time as a kid in the woods. Like, it was just, it's a really cool theme for a neighborhood to have. So if you like that, if you like the outdoors, you like nature, you like a little bit slower pace of life, Wild Ridge could be a really cool neighborhood for you. They've got tons of great amenities, all with that natural theme. They have access to Louisville Lake from the neighborhood. So there's like a little boat launch that you can go out for your kayak or stand-up paddleboard. You've got views of Louisville Lake from the neighborhood. Just a really cool amount of trails that go through wooded areas and alongside the lake. And so Wild Ridge could be a really cool reason in itself to make the journey over into Oak Point. It's definitely worth considering. Now, if you look at this whole peninsula that we're in, that Oak Point is in, you're gonna see that there's other, little pockets of other suburbs that exist in this peninsula. And in this video, we're gonna assume that Oak Point is this entire peninsula. And so in this peninsula, you have other new construction neighborhoods that technically don't have an Oak Point address that I would also consider looking at if you're looking in this area that are really nice. Like Spiritas Ranch on the northern part of this peninsula is gonna be a great neighborhood. It's very early on in its development, but it's definitely worth considering. And there's plenty of others that I would consider as well. So if you want a full list of all the new construction neighborhoods in this area, after you get through this pro and con list and see that there may be a chance that you wanna live here, definitely reach out to me. Would love to send you that full list and we can dive into what neighborhoods would make sense for you. Now, Oak Point itself is pretty dang small. It's a town of about 4,300 as of 2020. Now, I'm sure that's quite a bit higher now because it has seen a lot of development over the past few years, for the past 4 years specifically. And so the population is gonna be a little bit higher, but this is not a big community. This is a very small community. So in Oak Point itself, you're not gonna have a ton of infrastructure. You're not gonna have a ton of community amenities in this area. And so being such a smaller area, it's definitely, you know, a pro and a con for some people. If you like that slower pace of life, you don't want to be around a bunch of people, you want to feel like you're a little bit outside of the craziness of the Metroplex, Oak Point is fantastic for that. But if you want to be in that typical suburbia feel, then Oak Point is not necessarily going to be for you. On that note, let's jump to the other point I had about this area, and that is that this whole peninsula that Oak Point exists in is very pieced together. You know, if you think about like a typical suburb, like Frisco, for example, you drive around Frisco, it's very well put together, it's manicured, you know, you have landscaping in every street that you drive, all of the streets are pretty well taken care of, it looks just put together. You get over into the Oak Point Peninsula around this Louisville Lake area, and it just looks kind of like it's pieced together, like very, very typical small town feel as you get into this peninsula over here. You know, you have a community in one area, a really nice, you know, fancy, nice neighborhood like Wild Ridge. And then you drive a little bit further and maybe there's a trailer park, and then you drive a little bit further and there's a field, then you drive a little bit further and there's like a rundown shack. So it's just very, very pieced together. Not really much landscaping along the roads, not really super well taken care of roads. So it does have a smaller town, more pieced together feel compared to a typical suburb. So that is something you have to deal with if you do decide to live in this area. For some people, that's a deal breaker. For other people, they're like, that's okay. So we're about to jump right into this next point, but just wanna say, you know, I love making these videos, but the thing I love even more is working with people just like you to help you buy and sell real estate in the DFW Metroplex. So if you want help looking at buying a home or selling a home here in this area, reach out to me, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. I'll be honored to help you find that perfect home here or sell your home in the DFW Metro. Now let's talk about the commute a little bit from Oak Point, because this is both a pro for some people and a con for others. So we need to dig into this a little bit further. And the first thing I want to bring up is that, you know, you're not an easy commute to downtown Dallas. Downtown Dallas is not going to be super close for you, and you're not really close to a major freeway or highway or tollway or anything to get you out of Oak Point. It's really kind of inconvenient to get in and out of Oak Point. And so if you're gonna be making the long trek to Fort Worth, or you're gonna be making the long trek to downtown Dallas, you're gonna be spending quite a bit of time in traffic. It's gonna probably be that hour and a half mark to get into downtown Dallas during the rush hour. So if you're gonna be doing that every day, it may not be the best fit, or you just have to be okay with that longer commute. But on the other hand, if you're gonna be working in a place like Frisco or Plano or any other area in the northern suburbs, then this becomes a lot more realistic for you, because you're not having to commute all the way to downtown Dallas. And even though it's not super convenient to get in and out of this neighborhood, you know, you still are able to get to your actual workplace in a reasonable time. If you're looking at, you know, working in Frisco, for example, your commute is probably gonna be around that 30-minute mark. Or Plano, you know, 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what part of Plano. And so you have options for a lot of employers around the area in the northern suburbs. That's probably what I would be looking at if you're wanting to move to Oak Point, is finding somewhere that you can work a little bit further in the northern suburbs. Now, hey, I make videos like this all the time doing pro and cons of different suburbs. I also do neighborhood tours as well. So make sure to jump into my channel and check out all the videos that I have available for you as you continue figuring out where you want to live here in the DFW Metroplex. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos that I release, so you can figure out exactly where you want to call home here in the DFW Metroplex. One thing that people, you know, kind of fall in love with the idea of about Oak Point is that it's really close to Louisville Lake. And you do have several access points to Louisville Lake throughout Oak Point, but let me be clear, like many of these areas that you would be looking at buying a home in, where your house is actually located, you're likely not going to have a view of Louisville Lake. Now, if you buy in a neighborhood like Wild Ridge, for example, you have access to it. You can go out and kayak or paddleboard by launching from the boat launch there, but not very many homes actually have views of Louisville Lake. And that goes for most of the homes in this little peninsula here. Now, you do have little pockets of homes that aren't in necessarily established neighborhoods. They're just kind of standalone lots that you can buy a home in that's likely already built. I don't think there's much new construction options available on the lake right now, but you do have resale options of buying on the lake in this little peninsula that do have direct views of Louisville Lake. but don't expect that if you're buying in a typical neighborhood in Oak Point. So let's hit home a little bit more on the location of Oak Point, because this is a really key. There's a few points I want to make sure you understand about Oak Point, the location. On the northern part of the peninsula, you have Highway 380, which runs east and west. And Highway 380, especially at the tip of this peninsula, on the very northern tip of this peninsula, it's very, very inconvenient. You have a lot of good development going on up there. You have access to restaurants. You've got Starbucks, you've got your Einstein Bagels, you've got restaurants you can go into, you've got some grocery stores popping up there. You've got Costco's opening up not too far away, so it's developed and there's good things to access up there. But that little stretch above that peninsula is very, very busy, and the road is not at all what it needs to be as far as the number of lanes. And it's currently under construction. They're expanding it and making it more convenient for the future, but right now it's a mess. And so, you want to really avoid Highway 380 at all costs if you can, unless you have time to kill. But relying on that every day is definitely not ideal. The more convenient route to take is going to be taking south down towards the southern portion of the peninsula and exiting onto El Dorado, which runs into Little Elm and Frisco. And so as you exit that way, it's going to be a little bit less traffic. It still gets, somewhat bunched up down there, but going to be less than 380. And then that gets you into plenty of options. You've got the Lakefront District down in Little Elm that's going to have a ton of dining and just a nice little community center around there. You also have the Little Elm Beach right there, which if you want views of Louisville Lake, that's a great place to go and a great place to hang out on the weekends. It has sand volleyball courts and plenty of cool things to do there. As you continue further down on El Dorado, you'll eventually get into Frisco, and then that's when it really opens up as far as the amount of restaurants and entertainment that you have around that area. Now, people ask all the time, what school district does Oak Point route to? And you have to kind of be careful because there's a few different options depending on where you live. But a lot of Oak Point is going to be routing to Little Elm ISD. Now, Little Elm ISD, if you look at the Texas Education Agency, they rate that as a C school. The overall score is about 79 out of 100. So not necessarily the highest ranking school, but also not a bad ranking school by any means at all, but something you have to consider regardless. And hey, if you're looking for another small town that has affordable homes and still convenient access, then definitely check out this video right here to see another great pro and con video of another great community. And if you have any plans of buying or selling a home here in the DFW Metroplex, then reach out, say hi. Would be honored to help start that process with you. Till next time, I'll see you later.